Bryan since. So I think, there's a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Daniel Bryan, a lot of emotional times for Daniel Bryan in this, and I think that what it's going to come down to is how diligently Daniel Bryan will get over these depressing times, get past that, and then make a suggestion on where to go with his career. No doubt he suggested different things for him to do. Obviously, he doesn't want to walk away from the business like a lot of people have not done. Other people have tried hands at commentary. We've seen Taz try a hand at commentary. JBL, of course, who had a back injury, which enabled him from wrestling. So we've had other people try a hand at commentary. We've had other people try a hand at being a general manager, like Booker T, for instance. I keep going back to Booker T because he's the perfect example of this sort of situation. Booker T announces his retirement, and then he went from, retired in WWE doing a brief thing with TNA. He leaves TNA Wrestling, comes back as a commentator in 2011 in WWE, and then he goes from being a commentator after they realized he was terrible on the headset to being a general manager of SmackDown, and then back to commentary again. So it's been, one way for Booker T, another way for Booker T, another way for Booker T, one way after another for Booker T. So I think that a lot of people have tried their hand at doing commentary. Very few people possess the multiple qualities of being a wrestler and, say, a commentator. CM Punk, Jerry the King Lawler, a few of the people you can make an exception for. So why not try Daniel Bryan doing that? Because Daniel Bryan has an understanding of the business, and I think he can give us a great analogy of the business and really carry us through what a wrestling match is actually like from his experience in the business. I mean, he was someone who held every championship. He was eligible to have competed for, from the U.S. title to the Intercontinental title to eventually the big one, the WWE Championship. He's been in the main event of WrestleMania. No disrespect to JBL, who has been in the main event of WrestleMania. Booker T also was main event of WrestleMania against the likes of Triple H. So they have an understanding too, but when it comes to holding virtually every championship, very few people are as decorated as Daniel Bryan is at this point in their illustrious career. And I hope that realization sets in for Daniel Bryan of, hey, I did everything that I possibly could when I was able to wrestle, so maybe my career was cut a little bit short, but that doesn't mean that I have to go away. I can still make the scattered appearance. I can come out and do my finishing move to somebody, get the better of someone if I don't want to be a general manager or a commentator, and at least let wrestling fans know that I haven't forgotten about them and that I am still part of this business, very much so. Before I even left the business, I was a part of it, and when I left, I was still just as much a part of it as I was when I was there all the time, wrestling week in and week out. And after having so many fans support Daniel Bryan in the way that they did as part of the Yes Movement, how is Daniel Bryan just going to walk away from the business and turn his back on all the fans who never gave up on Daniel Bryan? Because of the fact the fans never gave up on Daniel Bryan, that should give Daniel Bryan more of a reason not to give up on the fans. Because if he just walks away and we don't hear from Daniel Bryan for 6 months to a year, then it's going to feel like he gave up on the fans when the fans didn't give up on him. So if he did come back wrestling, he would turn on the fans, and he would hate the fans, and he would blame the fans for turning their back on him when they actually didn't. It was actually reversed, and Daniel Bryan turned his back on the fans when they didn't do anything to Daniel Bryan, because they supported Daniel Bryan from the get-go. There was never a time when Daniel Bryan was really hated by wrestling fans. More fans were for Daniel Bryan than were against him when he was a heel character, and he was doing the whole yes and no thing and kind of going back and forth when he was teaming up with AJ, as AJ, of course, was his manager, and Daniel Bryan was involved in this infatuation storyline with AJ, and they were going back and forth, disputing against each other. Fans were even for Daniel Bryan when he was hating towards AJ, so it was like Daniel Bryan was never hated by wrestling fans. So if Daniel Bryan just goes away, then Daniel Bryan's just leaving wrestling fans with the impression that, hey, I never really cared about you when all you never gave up on me. So Daniel Bryan just can't walk away without any explanation, which is why I have a tremendous amount of respect for Daniel Bryan for doing what he did and giving wrestling fans the promo that he did. He said that wrestling fans never gave up on him, and that's why the wrestling fans were the most important people he had in his life, and he would never forget about them. And he left us by leaving the Intercontinental title in the ring before presenting it to Ryback at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, doing the whole yes thing with his hands, his yes gesture, and walking backstage. We have not seen Daniel Bryan on television since the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is why there are still a lot of unanswered questions in the departure of Daniel Bryan. The loss of Daniel Bryan wrestling full-time is a difficult thing for the business to have to rebound off of, because as a result of this, a tremendous opportunity is out there to create a superstar just as big as what Daniel Bryan was. But how can you really rebound off of Daniel Bryan with how much popularity was backing this superstar? I mean, he was the most popular superstar of last year. In 2014, everybody supported Daniel Bryan in some way or somehow. Everybody seemed to be a Daniel Bryan fan. Nobody wanted to turn against Daniel Bryan when it seemed like he was going to go heel prior to WrestleMania 31, wanting that opportunity to face Brock Lesnar, trying to take it from Roman Reigns. They had a phenomenal match at Fastlane. So many people for Roman Reigns, just as many fans for Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan definitely had a lot of fans. So in my opinion, you really can't create a superstar just as big as what Daniel Bryan was. You can try to do it, and eventually you will do it, but it's going to take some time. Now, with Daniel Bryan departing ways with the company for a short amount of time, the door of opportunity, yes, is open and more widely open than it's ever been open before. And that's probably the logical explanation behind why we've seen more NXT wrestlers coming from NXT over to Raw, like Kevin Owens and his feud with John Cena. Don't get me started on Kevin Owens and John Cena's feud, because that really pisses me off, the direction that's headed in, because Kevin Owens, in my opinion, really has not proven anything. Yes, he may have been involved with the wrestling business for over 16 years, but he still has a long way to go, and he doesn't have the right to be in a match with a 15-time world champion and beating the champion the way that he is. He's really getting the better of John Cena. Cena recently got the better of him at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Obviously, how this one is going to go is Kevin Owens is going to come out on top as the U.S. champion as early as Battleground on the 19th of next month. But really, do you want to see Kevin Owens benefiting in the way that he is against John Cena? I really don't. And that's the reason why the door of momentum is open, because going back to how Daniel Bryan suffered from this career-threatening injury, which of course is uncertain at this point, what's wrong with Daniel Bryan, when Daniel Bryan's going to be able to wrestle again. So that's why we're seeing people like Kevin Owens coming into WWE the way they are, with such momentum and such promise. Not saying that Kevin Owens wouldn't have had promise if Daniel Bryan would have went down with this major injury the second time in less than 1 year, but definitely Daniel Bryan's injury has something to do with why we're seeing pushes of all these NXT wrestlers, such as Kevin Owens. So yes, the door of opportunity is more widely open than it ever has before, which is why Daniel Bryan being a trainer on Tough Enough will go a long way in benefiting future stars of this business, because it's been said many times over the years, especially with you have so many limited wrestlers, you have to start focusing on creating stars of the future, because if you don't do that, then the future of the business remains uncertain and remains in the proverbial dark. So at least with Daniel Bryan out with a major injury, this will allow WWE Creative to focus on creating stars of tomorrow rather than focusing on the same 3 or 4 wrestlers carrying the product as Daniel Bryan had the responsibility of doing back in 2014, which is why I'm more excited than I ever have been to watch the product, to find out who's up and coming from NXT and who's going to be given the same opportunity Daniel Bryan was given about 5 years ago when he was a part of NXT Season 2 or Season 1. It was amazing. Seeing how far Daniel Bryan came. It was fun watching Daniel Bryan's career, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why wrestling fans are not going to give up on Daniel Bryan. And I believe there are fans out there who still believe that we haven't heard the last of Daniel Bryan wrestling, and there will be a day again when we see Daniel Bryan wrestling as part of the active roster on WWE. But for right now, Daniel Bryan is on the inactive roster in WWE, and I think a lot of fun is had by people who are inactive. I mean, Booker T was general manager. He was inactive for a number of years after coming back to WWE, and I think he missed the business because he started to wrestle sometimes against people like Jack Swagger, and he gave people like Jack Swagger and Cody Rhodes the opportunity to make names for themselves at his expense, and he was able to definitely get the better of them, sometimes more than enough. But in the end, people like Cody Rhodes and then Jack Swagger went a long way in benefiting them. He definitely missed it, but he readjusted. And if someone like Booker T can readjust, then someone like a Daniel Bryan can have fun trying to readjust. And there's an opportunity there for Daniel Bryan to turn over a new chapter in his career, because if he ever thought about doing commentary after he slowed it down after maybe 20, 25 years of contributions to the business, if he ever thought about being a general manager of a show, now is the time to prove to us that he can not only wrestle, but he can also entertain out of the ring as an on-screen personality, because some of the most fun is had by a lot of people for just being on-screen personalities. And now this opportunity is there for Daniel Bryan to be just that, an on-screen personality who doesn't have to be overworked and who you can get the most out of for the next number of years as, say, a general manager, because I think that would also go a long way in benefiting the ratings. You take a look at how he was the general manager of Raw in the absence of the Authority in the first week when Team Cena beat the Team Authority out of their jobs. It was amazing seeing Daniel Bryan in the position that he was in, and I think he could have been the full-time general manager of Monday Night Raw in the absence of the Authority right up until the time of the new year in 2015 when they left and they came back. I think Daniel Bryan would have been awesome as the general manager of Raw, just as I think he would be awesome as a commentator. Hey, if CM Punk believes nobody could touch him on the headset, I think Daniel Bryan would be just as good as a commentator, if not better, than CM Punk. CM Punk knew he was one of the best commentators the business had in years, and Daniel Bryan could be the same way if ever given the opportunity to promote himself as a commentator. I talked about how lackluster the commentary team has been in recent years. They've been trying to find the right formula for the commentary teams for either show in WWE and been unable to do it. But Daniel Bryan could be one of the reasons why people listen to Monday Night Raw's commentary is they watch the matches now rather than watching Raw with a mute button on. That would give us more of a reason to watch Raw and look forward to watching the product now, which we haven't had in a really long time. JBL's been having the blame put on him for being very overpowering. Booker T's the yes man. And Michael Cole is just annoying, although he does provide good analogy to the business. And I think that someone like Daniel Bryan or CM Punk is the reason we're looking for to watch Raw again. And I think Daniel Bryan can give us that reason we've been waiting on to watch the product. And hey, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really fun to find out what Daniel Bryan's role in the WWE is going to be. So in coalition with that, I want to know what your opinion is. Do you think he's going to be a commentator, a general manager, or a trainer on Tough Enough? Whatever the case may be from your point of view and perspective, give it to us on our Facebook page at HGW Entertainment. Tweet it to us on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke.